Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I want to use this opportunity to thank everyone who have subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. So today we're going to be learning how to make an asymmetric gown with side ruffles. So we're going to be using 3 yards of fabric for this tutorial. So let's get started. This gown is going to be having 3 parts: the half length part, the hip part, and the ruffle part. So let's start with the half length part. For the half length, we'll be using 16 inches as our half length. So we're going to measure that and mark. So please take note, we're going to be cutting the back of this dress first, the back of the half length. So take away 1 inch for zip allowance. So we're going to measure that, connect it, and continue with the video. So our shoulder is 15 inches. We're going to divide that by 2 and we're going to mark that. So we're going to take our midpoint and connect it to make a curve at the bottom. So our bust measurement, we're going to be taking that and add 1 inch sewing allowance to that. Also, our waist measurement, we divide it by 4 and add 1 inch sewing allowance. The reason I'm adding 1 inch sewing allowance to it is because the fabric is kind of stretchy. So I don't want it to be too big while shaping it. So we're going to measure our neck depth, which is 1.5 inches, and neck width of 3 inches. They will come down from our armhole line by 1 inch to get our shoulder slope. So we're going to be cutting the front part of this dress. The front part, that's the half length. We just cut out the back. So we're going to be giving extra 4 inch allowance from our center front, as you see me doing. So you're going to mark 4 inch extra from the center front. We're doing that because this half length has an overlapping at the front. So we're going to mark that 4 inch out. Then the remaining part, we'll be using it for our bodies. So all you have to do is add the back to the front. I already went to pin my zipper. I pinned it down and I made a curve for the front, as you see me doing. So just make your curve and make sure it's a bit bent at the down. So we're just going to cut it out the same as the back. So we're going to be making our curve to get our overlapping at the front. Please, if the person is bigger, you can add more than 4 inch allowance at the center front. But 4 inch allowance is okay. So we're just going to make that slope open it to see what it looks like. So this is the front. It's going to overlap each other. You can make it overlap to the right or to the left depending on what you want. So we're going to remove the pins from the back. So we're going to open up the back and also cut out our neck. You can decide to add a zipper to this dress depending on what you want, because the front is overlapping and it's going to be a bit open, so you might not need a zipper for it. So this is the front and this is the back. So the next part we're going to do now is the skirt part. So we're going to be leaving 1 inch for zipper allowance like we left for the half length. So we're going to measure that to the bottom. So this is the 2-piece for the back and for the front. The upper one is the front, while the lower one is the back. So we're just going to mark our baseline and we'll start taking our measurements from there. So we're going to minus our half length from the top part, then we'll take our full length measurement. The measurement we're working with is 40 inches, but I'll be adding 2-inch sewing allowance to that. So we're just going to mark that out. So from the baseline, we're going to mark 8 inches. The reason we're marking 8 inches is because of our hip. So from the waist to the hip, you can mark 8 inches. So I'm taking my waist measurement divided by 4 and I added 1 inch sewing allowance to it. So this is our hip line, 8 inches, but if the person is taller, you can make it 9 inches, but I made use of 8 inches. So my hip measurement, I divided it by 4 and added 1 inch allowance. So for the down part, I used my hip measurement, but I minused 1 inch from it. So my hip measurement was 10 inches, so I minused 1 inch from it. That gave me 9 inches, and I added 1 inch sewing allowance to that. So we're just going to open the back and we're going to pin it as well. So we're going to be taking our skirt part and I'm going to be placing it right sides facing, as you see me doing. So we're just going to make sure that everything aligns together, both the back and the front. We don't want to make any mistake while cutting it. So you just have to make sure it's equal on both ends. Then we're going to be marking our slant. So since we came down by 8 inch as our hip line, we're going to be making our mark from there, our slant from there. So if you want the slant to come to the right, you can make it that way. But if you want it to come to the left, you can make it that way as well. So I took mine from the right, so I just made a slant like this. It's very easy. If you want yours to be very curvy, then you can use your French curve to make the slant. So I'm so sorry guys, I never knew my camera stopped recording the moment I was cutting this part. I'm so sorry. So after making the slant, I went ahead to cut it. So that part, that part is where we're going to be adding our ruffle. Then we'll add this down part to it to make it a regular gown. So this is one part, the front part of the skirt part. So to add our ruffle to this, we're going to be measuring from the hip to the slant. Then whatever we have, you can times it by either 2.5, 3 inches, depending on how full you want your ruffle to be and depending on the fabric you have. So mine was 34 inches and the ruffle I have here is about 71 inches. That's the length. So but if your fabric is not enough, you can definitely add to it. You can add it together so it will be long as you want. So the width of this ruffle is 14 inches. That's plus 1 inch sewing allowance. The length is 71 inches. So this is what we're going to be using to make our ruffle. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and use a loose stitch to gather my ruffle, each of them. So I'm going to do that and come back to show you what it looks like. So here, this is what the ruffle looks like. So I'm still going to hold that thread in place so it doesn't get loosened. So we're going to be attaching this ruffle to our skirt part and we're going to be starting from the hip. We're going to come down by ½ inch, then make our ruffle to the slant. So we're going to be placing it right sides facing to the skirt. And you make sure it goes round. So if your ruffle is too small, you can loosen it so it contains the skirt part. So we're going to be attaching it all through to that slant that we have. We're going to be doing the same thing for the back. So I went ahead to cut a turning for my neck. I did that for the front and also for the back. So you can just cut your turning as you want. So this is it. Then this is my skirt part, the back of the skirt. So remember the other part we cut out, the lower part where we made the slant? We're going to be adding it back to our skirt because we can't throw it away. It's actually our full length. So we're going to be adding it back. So you're going to make sure it aligns and add it from where you made the slant, and make sure the center is touching each other. It has to be equal. So we're going to add it from where you made the slant down to the end. So I'm going to do that for the back as well, the front, sorry. So after that, I went ahead to add my half length to the skirt part, and I added my zipper. And so you can see how lovely the dress is looking already. So I'm going to show you how to close the side seam. For the left part, you're going to be closing the seam straight, but we have to make sure that it's equal before closing it. So we're going to sew it with your measurement. But for the right part where we have our ruffle, we're going to be taking our ruffle inside, because if we should close it this way, the way it is now, our ruffle is going to be inside our bodies. So we're going to take the ruffle inside like this, the both side, we're going to take it inside, and we're going to sew on it like this, so that when we open it up, the ruffle is going to be outside and not inside. So we're going to arrange it. Make sure, just do it patiently so that everything is equal. So that part where it has an opening for the both ruffle, you can decide to close it. I closed mine, so you can decide to close it or you leave it. So making sure everything is equal, we're going to sew on it for the both sides. So you can use your actual measurement. So we're just going to do this, and that's it for our dress. So this is our lovely asymmetric ruffle dress, and you can see how beautiful it is. I went ahead to add my sleeves to the gown. So the down part, that's the down part where we added to the ruffle to get our full length. So this is what our dress looks like. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribing is actually free and it makes the channel grow. So I'll be seeing you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.